Matt, this is Gotham Knights, the latest game from Warner Brothers Montreal, the studio that did, what was the prequel game?
Batman Arkham Origins. Yes, that's the one.
Arkham Origins. Yeah, so this is a next-gen only title, and we're going to be putting it through its paces for the next 11 minutes, and boy, is this going to be interesting 11 minutes, Matt.
Yeah.
Because, as we always do, we'll kick things off on the frame rate, and the frame rate isn't great. It's not solid.
But it's capped at 30 FPS, right? That's been the big news recently.
But on the PS5, it dips. And then it's got this weird thing where it dips and then tries to get the frame back. I haven't quite worked that one out yet. But the Series S has a bit of a mare, to be honest, at times, and can drop as low as like 20.
Oh, wow.
But for the most part, like the Series X and the PS5, solid 30, but can dip to like 29.
Okay.
And this is where the game struggles, I've noticed.
When you're moving sort of quickly through the world.
Yeah, exactly. Less so on the Series X and the PS5, although it does the odd kind of flicker. But the Series S can actually have massive dips. It seems to be if you're falling from great heights as well.
Okay.
So it's almost like a loading issue that's loading in the assets, like as you can see now.
Oh,
right?
wow, yeah. That dropped as low. That dropped 21, didn't it? 21, 22.
Yeah, so not ideal. But if you are getting it on the next gen, obviously this is the kind of game that you would want 60 for, right? It's based about timing. It's almost like there's not a parry system, but there's a dodge system, and you want to cancel your attacks and stuff. But the combat is a lot slower in this game than, say, Arkham Knight.
Yeah, most of the Arkham games, it's a bit more sort of deliberate, the combat. I mean, we won't get into too much of what we think of that, but it's it's a slightly different combat system. And I mean, to be fair, you know, I've been playing this a lot for guides, and I've not noticed. It feels a fairly smooth 30 playing on PS5.
It's just the odd dip, right? And you can feel it. It's like a judder, but it doesn't happen very often. But yeah, like obviously we'd like 60, but we get 30. But we do get 4K, Matt. Not on the Series S, obviously.
No.
But the Series S version is very good. But when you look at that, I mean, it is a gorgeous game. The city is phenomenal.
Yeah, this is an amazing version of Gotham City. Like, I've been really blown away by not only the visuals of it, but the way it's designed. It's really intricately designed. There's loads of sort of like lower pathways and tunnels and things that I just didn't expect. Like, it's been a long time since I've sort of been blown away by the amount of detail in an open world game, and this is good. Like a good Gotham City.
And you'll just drop through a hole in the roof, and there'll be a whole complex you just dropped into, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah. The lighting as well, right? Like,
yeah, love it, mate. Absolutely love it. And I think that's one of the best things about the entire game. Like, 4K 30 on the next-gen consoles looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
But the lighting is just...
It's so comic book is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, the shadows are really dark. So when you get these bright light sources and they cast, you can see it in the sort of the top right of this bit, where the shadows are proper shadows, and like, so you get these amazing silhouettes. You got the neon with the fog going on, and I wonder if that's the sort of if it's those effects that are, you know, capping how well this game can run. Because if that's the trade-off, personally, I'm okay with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been so enjoying looking at this world, and I've not really considered the frame rate too much. But for people who, you know, who 60 is everything, I completely understand that, you know, it won't be acceptable for them.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? Where once you start playing at 30, because the drops that do happen aren't, well, especially not the Series S, but on the Series X and PS5.
Yeah.
They're not incredible. They don't really ruin the flow, so your eyes get used to 30.
Yeah.
And because of the slower combat, it doesn't make that much of a difference. You're pressing button presses like a good half a second before you want to do that action, because there's no like last minute dodges. The perfect evade is like not that, the window isn't as closer to the contact as it is them making the movement. But you always get used to that, and then they focus on just how in-depth the world is, the lighting, the textures, which we're going to have a look at in a bit, but just the whole mood of the thing. Right?
Yeah,
it's the graffiti, it's the attention to detail everywhere, right?
Oh god, yeah, insane attention to detail. Like even shops and billboards, like they are repeated, but they're repeated because they're chains. And then you find the headquarters of the chain of shops or the chain of banks and stuff like that, and you're like, everything sort of makes a lot of sense. And you like, I love the sort of Arkham City and Arkham Knight games, but this feels like the most sort of like comic booky Batman the animated series, like realistic version of Gotham where I fully believe people live. Like,
I found a missing pet flyer down an alleyway. Like, look at those textures. This is just a random alleyway. It's got nothing to do with anything in the game.
Yeah, and super high quality textures, right? And there's the shadows and the lighting again.
Yeah, and also like things change as well. So if you look at the windows, like the lights change as well. And I don't know whether they're on different cycles for different nights, because obviously you go out and patrol different nights. So I don't know whether that's because the lighting, because you look at those windows in the top on the Xbox versions, the red and the blue. But the PS5 doesn't seem to have the red one, but it does a little bit of the blue one.
Yeah,
it's almost as if the colours pop a little bit more on the Xbox version.
Well, you sent me a screenshot as well at one point showing like a window for one of the collectibles, and I went to the same location and different lights were on in different windows.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But the architecture, right? Like again, the brickwork detail there. That brickwork is quite far away from the player character. Yeah, and it's so crisp. Like,
yeah, and there's just a great kind of, I guess, variety in the architecture as well. Like you get your big skyscrapers, you got your industrial, you got your university campus here.
Yeah, and real like difference in the age of buildings as well, right? Like different building materials, different places. I've been like slightly blown away by the level of, and the different areas of Gotham all have different architectures and different ways that they've been built. Just good stuff.
But Matt, which one's better? Xbox Series X, PS5? Can't tell.
God, no,
they look pretty much the same.
That's identical, isn't it?
There's no resolution kind of issues there. And the thing with the lighting is, I do think that might be time of day and. Well, not time of day, but different nights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because like the Series S does seem to have less populated streets. I did notice that because look at the cars there.
Yeah.
On that street on the Series X, but look at the PS5. It almost looks like a bit mistier, and I don't know whether that's because of the night I was on or the night you were on, the different times of the game.
Yeah, you're right. Everything looks a lot crisper in the Series X, a lot less foggy, but again, that might just be because there is dynamic weather, right? It chucks it down with rain sometimes, like but it's not always raining. Like I always
feel like it is always raining.
Well, that's Gotham, isn't it? That's the whole point. Like it's so good at creating that atmosphere.
But now look at this shot. It's almost as if the PS5 version pops a little bit more in terms of like the Elliott TV Studios sign.
That definitely it definitely seems like there's an element of like the dynamic weather, like you say there.
Yeah, and this is what you were talking about, the billboards and stuff, that they're all changing.
Yeah.
And they're all like actual kind of like ads. It's, I'll tell you what it feels like. It feels a little bit like the way that Rockstar create their open worlds. I've been thinking about GTA the entire time I've been playing this. Again, compared to the old sort of Arkham games, which felt more like they had to create a space for you to play around in. Although they still had like some fantastic buildings and architecture, but it wasn't. It didn't feel alive, right?
No, not at this sort of level. Not in a really believable way where you can see. Yeah, you can see the old parts of the city. You can see how things have been built up. You can see where the poorer parts.
Look at the colour there as well on the red in the top left corner. So I don't know whether that is a difference between nights thing.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. It's just it's a really believably built Gotham, and it's so layered and so detailed, and the Elliott Centre, this is one of the most sort of impressive buildings in the whole of Gotham, isn't it? Like it's this sort of opulent.
And it's a shame about the Series S in terms of drop in frames and that, because the actual Series S version doesn't look too bad at all.
No, it's sort of
just the issue with frame rates and performance.
It's sort of what I'd have expected from the last gen consoles a little bit, right? Like that. Yeah, open world last gen consoles. That's sort of what they look like, and it seems to be keeping up fairly well, apart from those drops in the lower resolution.
Yeah, but it's nice doing 3 consoles as well instead of 7. I will put that out there. And also no different modes as well.
Yes,
It's like 3 consoles, no modes. Like 1 mode instead of 7 consoles, 20 modes. But yeah, that's Gotham Knights, folks. It's out tomorrow. Thanks for watching, folks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, folks. Goodbye.
Bye.